When we look at the origins and the true forms of the Archons, most of them are well explained. Venti used to be a wind spirit or an elf. Zhongli used to be a geo dragon. Nahida is the current avatar of the Irminsul. Furina used to be an oceanid who turned into a human. And Mavika all the way to Shabalanke are humans who ascended to godhood. But Raiden Ei's origin and true form is a mystery. Similarly, when we look at the Dragon Sovereigns, we have Apep for Dendro, we have Shiocoatl for Pyro, for Hydro we have the Leviathan who is Monsieur Nouvelette, and Geo and Anemo sovereigns are heavily implied to be Azdaha and Dwalin. But then again, the Electro Sovereign is a complete mystery. He's not mentioned at all. I think the true form and the origin of Raiden Ei and the Electro Sovereign's mystery is something that is connected to each other, and this is one of the biggest mysteries we have in Genshin. Let me tell you how they're connected. To give you some context about Raiden's inspiration, I would like to talk about one of her primary inspirations, which is the Shinto Storm God Susanoo. Susanoo has a lot of stories, but I would like to focus on a particular one for this video, which is the slaying of the serpent/dragon named Yamata no Orochi. The tale goes as follows. Susanoo had upset his sister Amaterasu, who is the goddess of the sun, and who is the other primary inspiration for Ei. And because of this, he was exiled, and during his exile he traveled a lot, and on one of his travels he encounters this family who was extremely distraught because they were plagued by this serpent/dragon named Yamata no Orochi, which had 8 heads and would eat one of their daughters every year, and time had come for it to eat their next daughter, who is their last daughter, who is also their 8th daughter. So they ask Susanoo for help. Susanoo agrees to help them by first transforming this daughter into a hairpin which he sticks into his hair, and then facing off against Orochi. When you look at a lot of these older myths, most of the gods are tricksters. Similarly, Susanoo is also a trickster. So he doesn't have a direct fight with Orochi, but he tricks him by brewing a very strong sake, which Orochi drinks, which puts him into a very deep slumber. Seizing this opportunity, Susanoo kills Orochi. But while he was slicing off his tail, his sword makes a very distinct clanking sound as if it struck a metal object inside Orochi's tail. When examined, he found a sword inside Orochi's tail, and this sword was called Ame no Murakumo no Tsurugi, which translates to the heavenly sword of gathering clouds. And he gifts this sword to Amaterasu as an apology, and this allows for reconciliation between them. If you've ever wondered why in Soulsborne games such as Dark Souls and Elden Ring, why we get weapons when we cut off the tails of certain dragons, this is the myth it's referencing: Susanoo slaying Orochi. Now also, if you're a fan of Naruto, you might recognize a lot of these names. They are the Mangekyo Sharingan abilities, Amaterasu Susanoo, and Orochi is the namesake of Orochimaru, and hey look, his true form also has 8 heads. And if you are a fan of Naruto, I have a quiz for you. What are the 3 overpowered weapons that Itachi's Susanoo has? They are Kusanagi no Tsurugi, Yasakana no Magatama, and Yata no Kagami. These 3 are not just random weapons they came up with, they exist in the culture of Japan. They are called the Imperial Regalia of Japan. These are 3 artifacts that prove legitimacy to the royal family of Japan, which allows them to trace their lineage back to Amaterasu. With the sword that Susanoo gifts to Amaterasu, she gifts it to her grandson, and her grandson is the ancestor of the Japanese royal family. One of his descendants uses Ame no Murakumo no Tsurugi to cut down a grassland of fire, and because of that he changes its name from Ame no Murakumo no Tsurugi to Kusanagi no Tsurugi, which translates to grass cutter. The other 2 artifacts, the Yata mirror and the Yasaka beads, have their own stories, but I'll not be going into them in this video because it's off topic. But these 3 artifacts are said to be currently in possession by the Japanese royal family, and this proves that they are descendants from Amaterasu. Coming back to Genshin, Ei doesn't really have a true body. She is a consciousness that resides within a blade, Makoto's blade. You can see the line I'm trying to connect, right? I'm trying to draw a parallel between Ei's true form being a sword and Kusanagi no Tsurugi. But there are 2 problems with this theory. Firstly, Ei herself does not use a sword, she uses a spear, the engulfing lightning. And Makoto's blade does have a name, it's called the Muso Ishin. It's not called Kusanagi no Tsurugi or Ame no Murakumo no Tsurugi. And there is no weapon in the game that goes by these names, Kusanagi or Ame no Murakumo. So is that it? is this theory dead? If you're new to my channel, these kinds of dead ends are exactly where I pop off. I have a question. There is a weapon called Kusanagi in the game. Do you know which one it is? It's engulfing lightning. Hoyoverse, please explain to me why 4-star weapons get names Amenomo Kageuchi and Kagutsurube no Ishin, but the Imperial Regalia of the God Empress of Lightning itself gets its name translated to English to engulfing lightning, whereas its real name in Japanese is Kusanagi no Inabikari, which translates to grass cutting lightning. This isn't just a translation which obscures details. It is hiding a very primary inspiration that Raiden has. I don't understand why you do this. The Electro Archon is a pair of twins, and so is the symbolism of their crown, the Imperial Regalia, the divine blade Kusanagi no Tsurugi. Its symbolism is split into both Ei and Makoto's weapons. Makoto's weapon is a sword or a blade like Kusanagi, whereas Ei's weapon, the engulfing lightning, carries its name. Just like how the Electro Archon's presence that appeared in front of the people was Makoto, and its true strength, the power of the Electro Archon, was Ei. You see how beautifully this fits in? In Genshin, we have a few examples of lesser beings being born out of the blood of greater beings. Some of the examples for this include the Pari from Sumeru and the Melusines. I would like to focus on the Melusines because they are very similar to what I'm trying to explain here. The Melusines were born out of the wounds inflicted on the dragon Elena's body by the Marichose Phantom. They were born from the blood that oozed out of his wounds. Even when we look at the weekly boss in Sumeru, we are actually fighting the antibodies inside the body of the Electro Sovereign Apep. So there is a very clear precedent set that the blood of dragons especially is capable of giving birth to other beings. Now when we look at how the Kusanagi blade was found, it was found by Susanoo when he cut open Orochi's body. Similar to how Elena's had wounds which gave birth to Melusines, you could see that Orochi had a wound which gave birth to Kusanagi. And since the Raiden twins are very intentionally symbolic of Kusanagi, that would show that they were born from the wound inflicted on the body of Orochi. And if that's true, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Orochi is going to be the name of the Electro Sovereign. I'm calling it now. Let's see how it plays out. Which would make the Raiden twins the daughters of the Electro Sovereign, dragon heirs themselves, which would also make Scaramouche grandson of the Electro Sovereign. I love this so much. Generally in media, the first few frames that introduce a character to us are very important. They are meant to convey the entire character's profile to us in just a few frames. For this video and every video moving forward, I'm going to assume that this introduction of a character is done to us through the character demo. So how is Raiden introduced to us in her demo? She is introduced as standing on the roof of the Shogunate castle in between these two fish looking things. So what are these? These are called Shachihoko. They are an architectural motif found in Japan dating as far back as the Muromachi period. These are said to have the head of a dragon and the body of a carp. Now if you're familiar with East Asian myths or with Pokemon, you can see where I'm going with this. Coming back, the Shachihoko do serve a purpose. They are meant to protect the castle from a fire. These castles are usually made of wood and are prone to getting caught on fire. And the Shachihoko are believed to be, not literally, they are believed to be possessing an immense amount of water stored inside their bodies. So if the castle was ever to be set ablaze, they would drench the castle in water, thus protecting it, which is kind of cool, but here's where it gets cooler. Japan as a country has been protected by two Mongol invasions by hurricanes. Every time the Mongols tried to invade, a hurricane sabotaged their plans 2 times. And this is why the nation that is inspired by the Japanese culture has a very strong precedent for being electro, because the real world country it was inspired by has been protected from invaders by storms 2 times. And the carp part of the design stands out to me because, as you may have guessed, in East Asian mythology, carps usually tend to be baby dragons. They are capable of ascending to dragonhood. So to reiterate, we have a country that has been protected by storms 2 times. We have 2 Shachihoko and we have 2 Electro Archons, or the Electro Archon as a pair of twins. 2, 2 and 2. You see how beautifully all of this fits in. I cannot stress how much I enjoy finding out about these little things, but I'm not done yet. One of the initial theories people had about about what the true forms of Makoto and Ei are is that they were yokai hairpins, which is actually a really good theory when you look into it. The distinction between Ei and Makoto's physical appearances, other than their clothes, is their hairpin. Makoto had a fan with some flowers as her hairpin, whereas Ei seems to have a traditional Kushi style hairpin. What is the symbolism behind these two? A traditional Kushi style hairpin is meant to provide protection from evil. Fans are meant to provide protection from evil. Both of them are similar to Shachihoko. I'm tying the hairpin analogy back to the Shachihoko, which then ties back to the dragon analogy. So you can see how hairpins come in a pair. Hairpin, which is a fan, and a Kushi style hairpin is a pair of two, meant to provide protection from evil. Shachihoko are meant to provide protection from evil. Japan itself was provided protection from an invasion by two storms, and we have two gods who take up the mantle of the Electro Archon. I'm so impressed by this, I don't know what else to say. And if you remember the details from the Susanoo and Orochi myth, you might remember that Susanoo saves the 8th daughter by turning her into a hairpin and wearing it on his hair. And there you go, there's your connection between the hairpin and Susanoo and Shachihoko and the Raiden twins. In case you're not too familiar with Hoyoverse's history or how they deal with characters, they have a history of making the prominent characters in their games modeled after and named after the previous games, dating all the way back to the first game they ever created, which is Gun Girl Z or Honkai Gakuen. And these characters are called XPs. For example, Raiden Ei is an XP of Raiden Mei, whom we find in a lot of games, including Honkai Impact 3rd and even Honkai Star Rail. Raiden Bosenmori Mei is the true name of Acheron. And these XPs also tend to echo the story beats from their previous games. In Honkai Impact 3rd, this girl named Mei ends up assuming the mantle of a god, for lack of a better term, becoming the Hersher of Thunder, and thus her name changes from Mei to Raiden Mei. And do you know what Raiden Mei's ultimate is in Honkai Impact 3rd? She transforms into a dragon. So I understand that a lot of people don't really buy into the whole XP theory, but if you do, there's another connection for you. Given that Raiden Mei evolves into a dragon in her ultimate, and carps tend to be baby dragons, there seems to be some implication that Raiden Ei could assume the mantle of the Electro Sovereign herself. That's assuming the Electro Sovereign isn't already dead, which I don't think they are. And also that Raiden Ei herself doesn't die, which is, I think Raiden has a lot of death flags. Let's see what happens. I will expand on the death flags and a lot of other motifs she has in her design in the dedicated Raiden analysis video, which will be similar to the Mavika video, which was the first video on my channel, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already. I think that's enough evidence to show that the Raiden twins could be the daughters of the Electro Sovereign, but I have an alternate idea to this. Let's look at everything I've presented in the video so far from a different angle. Susanoo turns daughter number 8 into a hairpin and he defeats Orochi. The Raiden twins' main symbol is the hairpin. Inside Orochi, he finds Kusanagi after cutting him open. Kusanagi is then gifted from Susanoo to Amaterasu and then to the royal family of Japan, thus crowning them. Shachihoko are constructed on the roofs of castles to protect them from a fire. The Kushi hairpin and the fan are meant to be symbols that ward off evil. You see how when we look at the first line, which separates the Raiden twins from Susanoo, either making them the hairpin or the sword, it all becomes very suspicious and manufactured. If the Raiden twins aren't Susanoo, then who killed Orochi? I think the answer is pretty clear. It's the thousand-eyed statue we find in Inazuma, which clearly is Ronova. I mean, who better to kill one of the dragon sovereigns of the planet than the personification of death itself? And maybe Ei performing the Vision Hunt decree was her way of trying to communicate with her mother. Looks like mommy issues is something that runs in the whole family. I mean, given how the mommies look in this family, who wouldn't want to have issues with them? But then when you look at the other Archons, we have the first Hydro Archon Egeria, who was created by Naberius the Shade of Life. And Venti is someone who definitely is either created by or has tie to or is Ishtaroth, the Shade of Time. And the Pyro Archon lineage, which traces back to Shabalanke, seems to have inherited the power of the Shade of Death. That makes 4 out of the 6 Archons that we know that seem to have heavy tampering done by the Shades years for them to be Archon that they are today, which makes it all very suspicious to me. This makes you wonder if there's a bigger plot going on in the background, since the Archons seem to be manufactured like Disney Channel pop stars. I mean, if the gods themselves are manufactured products, then does free will really exist in this world? Raiden also has a lot of moon motifs in her symbolism, which I would generally just chalk it off to just being her inspired by Tsukiyomi, the goddess of the moon. But given what's been happening in the story and what they seem to be doing with Not Cry moving forward, I would like to see what the future of Raiden is. Even though she doesn't seem like that on the surface, she seems to be one of the most, if not the most mysterious character we have in Genshin, tied with Venti. But there is another character who's both inspired by the moon, has moon motifs, and is tied to the shade of death. That being the dire Bale Moon herself, the cinder of two worlds flames, Arlecchino, who is going to be the topic of my next video. If you enjoy the type of videos I make and you want to stay tuned so that you don't miss out on my future uploads, do subscribe to my channel. I respond and read every single comment you guys leave. So if you have anything you enjoyed, something I did right, something I did wrong, any feedback you have, anything that you want to share, please leave it in the comments. I love reading your comments. And if you have nothing to say, just leave a purple heart in the comments or any emoji, I don't know. And do share, like, and subscribe to my channel. I'm new to this and I would like to see a lot of support moving forward, because making these videos is a very difficult process. So I would appreciate every bit of support you could give me. Thank you for watching till the end. If you have any specific requests for character videos, do let me know in the comments. And yep, that's all I had to say.
Say hello.